Dark Seer.
Dire team pick.
Dusker.
Dire team pick.
Alchemist.
Radiant team pick. Ten seconds remaining.
Spirit Breaker.
Radiant team ban. Dire team ban. Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Reserve time. Radiant team ban. Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Reserve time.
Ah, come on.
Dire team ban. Ten seconds remaining.
Undying waits.
Radiant team pick.
Queen of Pain.
Dire team pick. Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Reserve time.
Necrophos.
Radiant team pick. 10 seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining.
Dazzle.
Dire team ban. Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining.
Oh.
Radiant team ban. Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Reserve time. Dire team pick. Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Reserve time. Ten
Witch
seconds
doctor.
remaining. Radiant team pick.
Anti-mage.
Prepare for battle.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Monkey Business versus NiP. I'm Zio Warriors, Cap, and Purge. We've got a TriCast here for game number 1, and we're going to get right into it because there's going to be action about this bottom rune. Cap, how you feeling?
I'm feeling all right. I'm a little bit concerned about NiP's chances here. I felt like Monkey Business were a little bit in better control of the draft with the way they responded to the Darkseer Spiritbreaker. I casted the first Chinese match today, and I saw a team just get run over. DK's Scuderia just got run over by our Darkseer Spiritbreaker because they didn't know how to draft against it correctly. I feel like Monkey Business did so. They basically drafted like the same kind of aggression. There are very few dual lanes that I think could actually do better than a Spiritbreaker Darkseer, and Undying Tusk is definitely one of those.
I'm also really worried about their late game as well, just because Monkey ran this draft before in another one of their matches, and they just wait until they have Necro late game. And Necro late game is always going to put you in a really good tactical position because you remove somebody from the game for about 2 minutes in the late game. So as long as they do okay in the early game and they get to the late game and supply those ags to all those core heroes, I feel like they're going to be able to do a lot with it.
Yeah, one of the things we've seen Monkey Business do really well is manage their alchemists. Big Daddy seems to have a pretty good hold on when to farm items for himself and when to hand the ags over to his allies. And when they did this draft, I don't think the Necro got the Aghanims until maybe 40 minutes or so, but that was the point when he just started to take over.
Yeah, the Necrophos in that game had a really tough time, but you're going to see Era here have a very similar bad time.
No blink. This is an easy first blood. There it is. Goes for Fly. You can tell they were expecting him to just blink out, but he went for the mana break level 1 and gets punished for that greed.
He must have been trading with Undying or something.
Yeah.
Undying's missing a lot of mana, and then when Meander showed up, something like that, I'm guessing.
It's not a bad idea to go for mana break 1 and challenge the Undying to begin with, because you have to make sure he can't just like take away all your decay stacks. But why in the world would he position himself like that far to the right where he can get blocked out by the ice shards? That makes zero sense whatsoever.
Yeah, especially against this duo that's becoming so common. You know exactly what kind of power they can bring out in a scenario like that. Oh, already some lag.
Perch, I actually wanted to go back to the draft a little bit and see what you thought. So I was looking at NiP's lineup, and the 4th pick Dazzle, I expected them to pick up the Dazzle just because it's quite good versus Necrophos. The armor is incredible here. The weave's really strong, but that also meant that they weren't able to pick up the Gyrocopter, which I feel is one of the few heroes that can deal with the Tusk Undying. That was then banned away by Monkey Business as their 5th ban. Would you have placed more value in the Gyrocopter, or do you like their Dazzle 4th pick? Because I'm sure NiP knew what was going to happen, and they decided to value the Dazzle over the Gyro.
The Necro was picked after the Dazzle, right?
Yeah, correct.
No.
Is Arrow going to die again here? He's still level 1, no blink!
If Dazzle was picked before the Necro, then I'm not sure. AM is decent against Necro late game. That's one decent thing that they have out of this. It basically, my mentality entirely surrounds how the Necro turns out in the pick order. Because Grave is obviously, you can save against the Necro ult, and if you can do that, it's going to buy you a lot of time. Because then it'd force him to get Refresher, or at least guarantee that they kill the Dazzle first. And the AM can be very good against the Necro late game. If they just like chain disable him and drain all of his mana with Manta, they can one-shot the whole team because he has such a big mana pool.
Yeah, there's a charge up top onto Miracle. He'll make it back to the tower, but Handskin is level 2, does have Bash, hoping for some RNG here. How deep do they want to go? Kurt's on his way over. Out comes the Coconut. It'll bounce around, goes right back to the Spirit Breaker. Are they going to be able to punish this dive? Miracle going in deep. There's the heal from Crit. Jonas with the Ion Shell on, trying to do some return damage as well. Looks like both sides will be able to survive as Handskin salves up.
You really got to be careful with the Necrophos and in the lane at level 1.
Here we go. Surge forward as well as a charge. They get the second bash, but this Coconut, it's bouncing all around behind the tower. Now Fly rotates in. They'll kill one, and they're going to get 2 here. It looks like Jonas will have a surge up in just 1 second, but the Death Pulse chases him down. It's a 2 for Monkey Business coming out big.
That's a TP that probably was only going to happen because Anti-Mage died twice. He had boots and a teleport scroll at 3 minutes. You just don't expect that kind of TP support that early into the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really like his build as well. I mean, you're not going to really utilize the Tombstone that well against an Anti-Mage. So the second level of Soul Rip, which is a very powerful ability since they buffed it up to change it so it doesn't require as many units but can do more damage, it actually is pretty insane. And you could see there the turnaround potential when you TP into the side lanes.
This is the disastrous laning phase, though, for for NiP. Monkey Business already have a 2,500 net worth lead. Of course, the Alchemist farming very well in the mid, leading CS, and also gotten quite a few bounty runes. Anti-Mage off to a rough start, and now this top lane is in pretty good shape as well. Miracle's getting plenty of space to find some farm.
Well, they're getting good levels on the Radiant side, at least. The Spirit Breaker's level 3, Darkseer's level 4 here, and they are creating a little bit of space. But with Anti-Mage dying so much solo, they've actually kind of just given up on him, it looks like. He's essentially just sitting down here solo, trying to get as much regen as possible, but the pressure on him has been so effective.
Yeah, you see Fly just unrelenting here, even hitting him with a Soul Rip at level 1, forcing that salve out. He does have some stick charges, but aside from that, he's out of regen now.
Yeah, for me, this is the trade-off that NiP made when they chose to go for the basically having to go for the Animage over the Gyrocopter is that the Gyrocopter would ensure a better laning phase for NiP, but there's better late game potential with the AM, as you said, versus the Necrophos. It's obviously almost a direct counter in many ways. So they're just going to have to weather the storm, essentially. This early laning phase is going to be really bad for them. They do need to gank this Alchemist, and unfortunately Hanskin's gank doesn't come in at the right time. Big Daddy No Tail kind of like sensed what was going to happen. He knew the pressure was coming to him.
Now down bottom, Liv's got a double damage, drops the ulti, and they'll bring down the Undying first. Charge coming out on the Moon Meander. He does pop the salve. We'll see how much they want to commit to this. And again, Hanskin will be forced to cancel the charge. So they get 1 kill out of it, but it's a pretty big rotation. 4 heroes for NiP in the bottom lane.
As soon as he hit 6, he TP'd to the bot lane, and it was even more valuable because the SB was already stayed mid, so they lost no efficiency at all when they did that. And Big Daddy No Tail was probably a little bit less likely to notice that. So that was really good efficiency from NiP, and that's going to salvage their safe lane a bit.
Yeah, will certainly help. Now the charge coming back mid onto Big Daddy. It is from the well, though, so it's going to take Hanskin a little while to get there. No ulti on the Quap, as we just saw it used. This seems like an ambitious kill attempt, although his ult is down for 15 seconds. Maybe this is the window they've been waiting for. And nope, just harassing him. Gets the first hit bash. Limp just stays back and keeps his clarity on.
Yeah, there's just no way you can blink aggressively when you know that the Witch Doctor is nearby. Because obviously the Queen of Pain only goes for 1 level of blink, so you're severely limited in mobility if you play that offensively. The Queen of Pain's going to have to continue to try and play around the side lanes. I think once the Alchemist got his level 6, it's very unlikely they're going to be able to gank him. So they just kind of have to accept that Alchemist is going to get a lot of farm. What Queen of Pain can do, though, quite well, is shut down the Necrophos. And this is what we saw last time Monkey Business ran a Necrophos, is that the Necrophos was punished really heavily by the dual lane that he was faced up against, and even some of the mid rotations. He's just a really like squishy hero. The only reason that he's, I think, a lot more viable now is because of that level 1, where they buffed up his death pulse by 50, and that's really insane. Because if you think about it, you're not only healing yourself but also dishing out damage. That's a 100 HP turnaround.
I really like what Jonas is doing here, just trying to intercept the stacks. He already cleared out this camp here, and now trying to take as much as he can to the hard camp to limit the farm from this Alchemist, though Crit will be nearby, and he'll find most of the last hits himself. Now Hanskin puts down the Sentry Ward, and they'll actually go for a fight here. Charge in onto Crit. There's another fight elsewhere, but the Tombstone comes down. Limp looking to find the kill on the Crit. The Lantern will bring him down, and now do they fight the Tombstone, or do they get out of here? They're going to be forced to fight around the Tombstone. It ends up getting taken out, but Big Daddy's here. Limp will blink back to try and survive. Hanskin gets off the charge with 150 HP to spare, and he will just barely live as the Death Pulse chases him down.
He's gonna be just fine. That was so good for Yonosenfen though, because he noticed that the Witch Doctor kept disappearing off the map. He wasn't top very often after those couple dives, so he was obviously stacking. He shifts over, and he splits a lot of experience with the Witch Doctor, but he got almost all of those neutrals, and that's gonna heavily slow down what the Alchemist was gonna recover on. And Alchemist is doing great. He's the top CS right now, and I'm sure his net worth is way up there as well, but that's gonna at least save them like a minute or so on the Radiance.
Yeah. Absolutely, 2,400 gold up on Big Daddy. So not the fastest Radiance we've seen this tournament, but still looking to be a solid timing nonetheless. Curious what build Fly will end up going for on the Undying here. If he just goes that like brown boots right into Aghanims, or if he does something a little bit different.
I think the Undying very likely is to pick up some utility items. Arcane Boots, maybe you see the mech, though it's a bit more likely we'll see it out of the Tusk just because he's probably getting more farm. But maybe Tusk goes for like the Solar Crest. They do have really great roach taking potential with the Acid Spray, so an early Medallion I think would actually be more valuable for Monkey Business to kind of jumpstart, because they are going to face a period of time at like 25 minutes where NiP definitely can bully Monkey Business around in some team fights just because of the superiority of the Queen of Pain.
Yeah.
And they'll probably lose a couple of towers because of that. At least that's the way that NiP are going to move forward in this game and actually claim victory. If they're not able to take any kind of early aggression and this game just kind of draws out and NiP never really get a good hold, then Monkey Business are naturally going to have a gigantic economic advantage via the Alchemist, and they have the late game, the better late game in a way with the Necrophos.
Well, rotation up to the top lane by NiP, Ion Shell on Limp as well as Hanskin. Monkey Business seems suspicious, and they'll just back up with so many core heroes missing off the map.
Yeah, they have a lane ward as well. I didn't see how they approached the top lane, but it's very likely they ran past that with at least one hero that's not supposed to be there. Quap immediately blinks down the cliff, heads back to the mid lane, and resumes farm. So they're trying to pressure the Necrolite, but they're not really getting it done that much.
Yeah, now it's a rotation the other way. Monkey Business down bottom. They're going on to Seal Kid. The Tombstone comes out maybe a little bit early. Ice Shards connect on the Dazzle, but they won't be able to pursue, and NiP will survive that gank. Charge coming across the map. Rit scouts it out in the mid lane. Takes a bash along the way. He is charging fly down bottom, but just using that taxi service and will cancel it around the bottom rune.
Little surprised to see No-Tail rotating here because he's so close to the Radiance. You think you would just wait that extra 400 gold, but this Radiant double stack here with the small and the medium camps is one of the best places to farm for Alchemist, so I guess he can be aggressive while also getting some gold.
Yeah, that nice big acid spray area. We'll see if they actually try to get aggressive, as you mentioned. Era still not really finding the farm he's hoping for. At least now has Power Treads, Ring of Regen, but it's going to be a while before that Battle Fury comes out. Now back to the mid lane. Crit takes a charge, but the Coconut bounces across the heroes. Limp again with the double damage rune. They will be repelled. Out comes the Unstable Concoction. Ice Shards to follow up. Handskin completely trapped in. Snowball forward. Walrus Punch. It's a dead Spirit Breaker. Now Monkey's Business are trapped in. No Sonic Wave on 3. He gets 1 kill on the Alchemist. Will blink forward. He goes for more. Gets the Tusk. Now gets stunned up, and he wants crit as well. One more double damage auto attack. Not enough. It's a close call, but can't get the kill. Now the Undying turns. No blink for 5 seconds, and Limp will end up paying with his life. It's a 2 for 2, but a killing spree does go the way of the Undying at the end.
One of the big things is the fact that the Alchemist went down there. If somebody could click on his golds, he had enough gold there to be able to pick up his with the kill on the Tusk. He had enough gold, but then he dies, and obviously he can't buy it right away because it's in the secret shop. So he ends up losing that gold. This is going to slow down the Radiance by like a minute and a half, potentially even more if NiP actually managed to get like another gank before he completes that Radiance. But
Great timing for that to happen, though, from the perspective of NiP.
Yeah, I think Monkey Business just got a little, overly aggressive. I think that was very unnecessary. That could have been incredibly bad, because if he actually gets, the kill on the Witch Doctor as well, that's, very much worth it for Limp.
I agree.
Yeah, and he also had a double damage rune. That's the other thing that kind of tips the scales in terms of maybe Monkey Business would have been better off just to let that one go. The Darkseer, though, he's found some pretty decent farm here. He's very close to a mech, just a creep kill away. And that will make the team fighting potential with NiP, of course, much better. Also, Spirit Breaker now finding level 6, his kill potential going up by a pretty good margin.
I really think No-Tail just got a little unlucky there. He just got fully blocked in by the Ice Shards, and he wasn't able to get out. He does still get the Relic. I don't know where the hell he got that just now, but picked up his gold very rapidly.
It's an Alchemist. He kills 4 creeps and gets 500 gold,
He's got 3 levels in Grievil's Creed, so he's definitely getting a lot per gold. Oh, a couple of denies being missed here. Every deny is so big to try to slow down his Radiance, because most Alks finish it around the 12-minute mark, so this is a slightly slow Radiance, but it's not like he's super far behind or anything.
Yeah, he will retreat to the jungle here. The sad Alchemist not finding any of his stacks that were killed a few minutes ago, as Era just continues to try and farm down bottom, but now 3 heroes in his lane, continuing to apply pressure.
I was going to say, the big difference is that, the Alchemist is slowed down a bit with the Radiance, as Perch said, but the Necrophos is still getting plenty of free farm. So I think Monkey Business are in a better position with this strategy than they have been before when we've seen this, and Miracle is going to go for the Mind. It's a really valuable item on a Necrophos. Last time we saw it because he was really far behind, but the Necrophos really needs a lot of levels. There's a lot of value in that Heartbreak aura, and you want that level 3 as well from the ultimate. So
this stack gain's not even bad. 2 strength per level. It's not terrible. So he will get tanky faster, and more gold is going to translate to things like an Aghanim Scepter, other items like that.
Well, we'll see some tower exchanging here. Looks like Monkey Business will get the bottom tier 1 as NiP finish off the top tier 1, but Monkey Business also pressuring the tier 1 in the mid lane, so it could be a 2-for-1 tower trade if they continue applying this pressure, though they are being a bit cautious here now that the Spirit Breaker's off the map. Though so far he's not charging anything.
NiP is definitely ready to fight, though. They do have a mechanism, so the other team does not, and that might make the difference in a little team fight. But it comes down to the burst. Monkey is pretty decent at bursting 1 hero, and Mech, if you're only using it to heal 1 hero, it doesn't get the same value.
Yep.
And I think they're okay with making the trade-off here. I think NiP could fight, but they got a lot of damage on that tier 2 tower. They're also controlling the enemy jungle in the same time. So yeah, Monkey Business group up together, and they do take, I would say the mid lane tower is one of the most valuable ones, the most valuable ones of the tier 1 towers. But it's still well worth it because they're grouped up for a period of time. They're having to spend time essentially team farming, which most of it's going to go to Big Daddy No-Tail, but it just slows down some of the other heroes.
Yeah, it does help open up some Roche possibilities, though, for Monkey Business, less access points for NiP to come in and try and contest if they think they're in the pit. We do have a Radiance on the field here, boys. About 14 minutes will be the timing on Brown Boots, so now the turbo farming can begin for Big Daddy No-Tail.
The one thing that NiP is always really good at is being able to stop the snowball before it starts. I think they play it pretty patiently a lot of the times, and sometimes I watch their games and I just feel like they should be more aggressive, but their caution actually lends them to waiting until they're completely maxed out advantage.
Coconut connects onto Jonas down bottom. They'll use the Reaper's Sight. Not enough for the kill. He manages to get the mech off. Now Queen of Pain drops the hammer with big damage. It's going to cost him his life. They still don't find any kills out of it. Jonas will be able to surge back to safety. It's just a 1-0 Monkey Business finding the advantage, and now they'll pressure this tier 2 tower. Though NiP did get that tier 2 tower in the top lane all the while.
Very idealistic Sonic Wave there. Yeah, the Darkseer stayed alive and Monkey lost some Vow there, but that wasn't a regular team fight. If that was a regular team fight, that would have been a great initiation, but because he was the only other person there, he completely wasted his ulti and fed his life away.
Yeah,
so I was a little overeager.
I completely agree. I mean, that just as easily could have been them defending this tier 2 tower and taking that tier 2 tower in the top lane. It would have been a great trade-off, but he just got really overzealous. I'm not sure why he thought he was going to be able to kill anybody there. Even if he did kill somebody like the Witch Doctor, yeah, like you're still trading yourself away. Again, you can't blink aggressively.
He did use the Witch Doctor ulti, and I would say that's a really nice counter against Quap in the early game because our armor is pretty low. There's a chance she could have lived, maybe, if that didn't go off, but his blink is still a 9-second cooldown. No matter which way you look at it, it just wasn't a good decision.
Yeah, and this slows down the Orchid pretty dramatically, which is really bad because this is an item that shuts down the Alchemist as well as the Necrophos, your two primary cores of Monkey Business, and Queen of Pain needs to get ahead of these heroes.
And NiP just need to get ahead in general. Monkey Business certainly have the farming tools here with the Midas as well as this early Radiance Alchemist, and they're already ahead by 5k net worth. It's just continuing to tip the scales in their favor. In the jungle here, we'll see initiation on a Miracle. That's a nice little pick-off here for NiP. We'll take 2 ultimates, but well worth it.
It also forced him to buy out, and he opted for a drum here. I don't know if he was planning to purchase that or not. His team doesn't yet have one. So, and it's kind of... It's alright, it gives him stats, it gives him movement speed, but it's not a late game item. And I feel like with a Midas, he's going to be able to afford late game items. Maybe he doesn't need value right now. He could even aim for something like a fast Shivas or maybe some heart components that he'll later finish.
Do you think it could be a sign that Monkey Business just really want to get aggressive now in that next 5 to 10 minute window? Give him some extra stats where in the here and now. I guess we'll hold that thought though as Eric gets initiated on Snowball, Ice Shards, Death Ward. The whole kit and caboodle will bring him down. Another easy kill on the Anti-Mage, further slowing down that Battle Fury timing.
Crit's playing this really well with the early medallion pickup. He just shreds these heroes. I mean, they naturally have pretty low armor, as Purge mentioned. The Queen of Pain only sits at like 4 armor when you're like level 9. So you dip into negative armor. That's, you know, the Witch Doctor Ultimate is probably one of the best DPS abilities in the game. So just ripping through these heroes in the situations where they're playing either overly aggressive or they get caught. The thing is, they really shouldn't be getting caught. I mean, if you look at the side of Monkey Business, if they picked up like a Blink Dagger already on the Tusk or a Blink Dagger Alchemist and tried to play that ultra aggressive build, then yeah, you can make excuses for why NiP are getting caught in these scenarios. But because you don't have that, all of the stuns are pretty well telegraphed. You should be able to read these engagements, I think, a bit better than NiP are. And the result is that NiP, usually their patience pays off, and that they're able to wait right up until they hit their maximum kind of efficiency for their gold, their biggest peak in power, essentially, and then they 5-man in and force a great team fight, which they know they have the advantage in. Here, I'm not sure if they're ever going to have the advantage, or at least not a big enough advantage to ensure a quick end to this game. And a quick end to this game is kind of what you're looking for, just because going up against a Necrophos with Aghanims late game is a ticking time bomb. Yes, the Animage can serve as a counter to it, in that it's just an intelligence hero, you can blow it up rather easily. At the same time, you don't get the same kind of benefit when you get a kill on the Animage and you kill that Necrophos as vice versa. Just the elimination of the buyback is such a big factor past 35-45 minutes.
Yeah. Well, NiP are still making some good item progression, though. The Orchid is actually completed, just needs a turn on the Courier. Battle Fury now up on Era, so they are making some progress, but with that Monkey Business, just move right into the Roche Pit. Medallion opens up this possibility, Acid Spray as well, and they're going to bring it down without any difficulty. NiP not too suspicious, and even if they were, I don't think they could really do much to stop this anyhow.
Their team fight is not amazing right now. It basically comes down to wall vacuum and a little bit of burst damage. So it's definitely very difficult to take fights for them. Darkseer also went pretty defensive items just for Force Staff. And I don't think that's that weird. I mean, they know that Monkey's going to have a really good early game lineup. It's Witch Doctor, Undying, and a Necrophos. Like, they're aiming... They have a really strong early game, which is one cool thing about their draft, but it's also very good late due to the Necrolite Axe, or the Necrophos Axe.
I think... I actually want to talk about your... the drums on Necrophos. You know, I was looking at it too, and I was thinking the same thing. You know, it's a cheap stat item, but it's not really the greatest. But there is something to be said that if you have an alchemist on your team, you can afford to make kind of these inefficient like stat trade-offs, right? Where you get the early stats now, and you're taking up a lot of slots, right? But he's going to get that Aghanim Scepter in his inventory. He'll get that big late game item still. I'm presuming they're going to go for it maybe after this Manta. There isn't like obviously later into the game, the more value there is in the Aghanim Scepter on Necrophos, so they may try and like just farm up a bit more on the Alchemist, maybe get like one more big item.
I'll get one more tank item.
Maybe
Maybe
they'll give the Ags to the Witch Doctor first before the Necro.
The stats,
definitely possible, but you don't really need Ags Witch Doctor this game because it only gives you bounce. And if Nip's not fighting, it's a waste to give it to Witch Doctor, I feel.
They're also in better control of the game, which is a benefit to the Necrophos. You pick up potential. If you are more trapped inside your base, I think it would give more credence to the Witch Doctor Ags. But there's also the other thing that the stats of Aghanim Scepter. It's not just the upgrade that goes in, it's also the stats of the item. And Necrophos will get a much bigger benefit as you just want to tank up on that hero as much as possible.
And it give you more mana, and you die, lower chance of you dying to ganks, whereas Witch Doctor is not as important.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say Necrophos first, I suppose. But
what would you say the item should be on the Alchemist, though? If he's going to get one more big item, do you get one of the armor items?
I was thinking something like an AC was the first thing that comes to mind.
They don't have that much physical. I guess they do have a Witch Doctor. I was even thinking something like Heart.
Really?
Just because Queen Pain is very burst heavy. AM is pretty burst heavy. You'll have to worry about him later, but right now definitely not. And Spirit Breaker is all magic burst. So with the exception of Dazzle, it's like a lot of burst damage and a lot of magic and not that much physical.
Yeah, not yet anyway. I do agree.
A hybrid item would be better. Maybe even like a Scotty or something wouldn't be horrible here because he's got Manta as well. So his illusions would actually attack really fast and have good HP and hit hard. So. But he probably won't go that item. I'm not sure what the best thing is.
Yeah, I was looking at it the same way you were. I was just going, okay, there's AC is usually the most synergistic approach for the Alchemist because he has his minus armor or physical damage nuke. But I do agree with you that I'm not sure if there's going to be that much value in the armor in this early game. Obviously, more value later on as the AM gets more physical damage. But in the immediate like 10 to 15 minutes, I think it's a lot more magic and burst that you're talking about, in which case maybe there is a little bit more pressure to put on some sort of stat item.
Well, we'll see. It's already up to about 4k gold. The Aegis expiring here in 2 minutes' time. He did pick up the Boots of Travel as well, so now we can split the map and utilize this Manta a little more effectively. All the while, though, the other 4 members of Monkey Business are up in the top lane. They'll get aggressive onto Handskin. Walrus Punch, now the Reaper's Sight after being locked in place by the Ice Shards. An easy kill, and that'll take him out of the game for 70 seconds.
Their gank is so good.
Yeah, it's pretty scary.
It's good synergy as well. Medallion on Witch Doctor that makes the Walrus Punch do more. There's a lot of cool little ways that their heroes tie together nicely while still being so good in the early game.
Yeah. Big Daddy may also stop off for a Blink Dagger. He seems to like that item quite a bit on Alchemist, though they also have plenty of initiation without it, so perhaps it's not needed in this game.
I was thinking that Octarine was a possibility. I didn't really want to say it because it doesn't increase his damage very much, but it makes your ult downtime very good. It reduces it to almost 100%, I think. It puts it pretty low, down to like 30, 35 seconds. So very low uptime, or very high uptime on your ultimate. You can stun more often, you can farm faster, you get mana regen, something that he's missing a bit, and some general tankiness without going all in on the tankiness. So he's definitely going to have some damage lackings late game, but he can definitely Manta into split pushing lanes a lot faster. That's probably the main benefit, really.
That's really cool. I didn't even think about that item.
Yeah,
I've been pubbed against it before. So. Very similar build as this one,
Well, about a minute left on the Aegis here. Big Daddy just walks right up to the high ground. Meanwhile, there is some split pushing in the bottom lane from NiP. Era gets the tower kill. Smooth Meander tries to slow him down. There will be a TP reaction coming from the Undying, though it's a long one, and AM has plenty of time to just head back to safety. Speaking of AM, how's his item progression here? Now picked up the Vlads, has the Band of Elven Skin, so making progress towards the Yasha, but still doesn't have it.
And this also means that like your Manta, this is actually absurd split push because your Manta goes down to like what 22.5 or something.
Yep.
Yeah, 22.5.
Wow. With
Second
20-second
cooldown.
duration on the illusions.
Yeah.
So,
you're constantly like farming up a lane or split pushing or something.
it's like the
and-
Naga effect on a alchemist here.
Yeah, this is pretty nasty, and this is really between the pickoff potential, like the split push plus the pickoff potential of the Necrophos pairs really well, and that they're just going to be able to stall up the game a whole bunch. Once NiP feel a lot more confident, they're always going to be looking behind them, going, that bottom lane's being pushed out, we have to deal with that, and if they spread themselves, that's when the Necrophos strikes, because he's not only going to have the Blink Reaper Scythe, but he's also going to have the Scythe of Ice soon.
Yeah, exactly right. Going for some more control.
The goal is really about farming and a little bit of HP. That's what it gives you, and it's going to allow him just channel eggs into his team very rapidly now. This is probably one of the more efficient builds you can do in terms of farming speed, definitely.
Yeah, they really heavily prioritize the early Solar Crest as well. We've seen Big Daddy go for that item, but Witch Doctor's going to be the one to take that responsibility in this match. They'll also get some aggressive wards down if we take a look at Dire Vision. They've got the Radiant Plateau covered as well as, well, about to expire, but that bottom rune spot. So they are ready to stay aggressive if NiP try and farm in their jungle.
The only thing I don't like about this Alchemist build...
Oh, Walrus Punch here onto Jonas. Reaper Sight, there you go. Takes the Darkseer out. 90 seconds on the sideline.
I was literally just about to say when I saw him farming underneath that tier 2 tower, you don't have a Blink Dagger.
Yeah.
You can't play that aggressive. Like if you had a Blink Dagger, you could say with confidence you'd be able to stay ahead of any sort of TP Blink hero like the Tusk in that scenario, but it was way too risky. With the Necrophos on board, especially because you get punished even more so for pickoffs like that, I think that was a very unnecessary move. Now they have the BKB on the Queen of Pain, but...
Up top, Anti-Mage duking it out with Big Daddy. It's just not enough. Now Big Daddy's going to turn, throw a stun onto Handskin. There's no support inbound, but it's just a distraction. The rest of his team is starting to pressure the tier 3 in the mid lane. He'll just go ahead and BOT down, and yeah, there you go. Era's going to hang out in the top lane. He'll try to split push as best he can. Buyback now from the Darkseer, charge in from Handskin, but it will get canceled. Monkey Business just really having superior map presence here. They do about more than half damage to that tier 3 tower, and Era can't even really get to the Dire base without being a bit timid.
That was a buyback on Darkseer too, and that was with Reaper side up, so his next death might actually be very long.
Is under attack.
Not the best situation to be in.
You're getting, I think, almost all the items that you kind of have to have in order to fight. Like, you now have the Blink Dagger on the Darkseer, so there's the Blink Vacuum combination available to you. The Queen of Pain picked up that BKB, which allows you to blink more aggressively, and Era's about to finish up the Manta. I think at that point in time, you almost have to force a fight, because again, I just don't like your prospects going late game. It's not necessarily all about trying to end the game, but it's just like trying to gain back some of the advantage that you've given to Monkey Business.
I mean, just look at this
in the
gold
next
graph.
15 minutes.
It's a completely downward spiral. There hasn't been a point in this game where NiP's had any control of
Yeah,
of
you
the
need to put a
momentum
stopper
mid.
in that.
Yep, charge mid. They'll get Moon Meander, so that's something.
The first axe has been purchased.
Oh, so who's going to get it?
He's TPing mid.
Fortified.
Is he actually going to give it? I think he's just defending. He's like, I'll hold this for a bit. 1 second.
Yeah. I'm
You
sure he's
can
gonna
wait to
miss
get your
Necro
free
first.
Aghanims, boys. Don't get too excited now.
Man, he farms so fast.
It's ridiculous.
Alright, it is Necro.
Yeah.
Yep, there you go. Good call, boys.
That helps his HP a lot, actually.
Yeah.
It's about an armor and a half, an extra 400 HP or so. He's
Oh,
gonna catch
Era
him.
blinks back right into the Hex. Do they have the follow-up
don't
damage here? He
think so.
does have the Reaper's Scythe. Then we'll try to hold it. Era blinks into the trees. We'll be able to TP home.
That was actually really close. If you had ultied a little earlier, the Witch Doctor might have gotten a follow-up stun.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. If Miracle, I think he was right on the fence there. He's like,
Yeah.
if I just get a little bit more damage, if the Witch Doctor was just a little bit closer,
Yeah.
I ult there. The cask is thrown out. They then have the Solar Crest and the ultimate go down from the Witch Doctor, and they output a lot of damage in a very small period of time. But
It would have been 1 second to stun. It would have been tough, but it's possible.
yeah,
Either way, they force him back.
yeah.
No Manta yet on him.
I think it's better to just hold on to it anyway.
They're pinging out Fly in the mid lane here. There's the charge from Handskin. They're going to dive past the tower. He does manage to get the tombstone down. Maybe mechs a little bit early, but does die nonetheless. Now they focus down the tombstone. It will fall, as will the tier 1 tower. Coconut starts to bounce, and that'll be a freebie here for the Ninjas in Pyjamas.
Their burst is actually super good. It feels like they're really far behind, but every time that a hero dies, they die within like 3 seconds. I mean, the SP burst alone is great.
Yeah, I like this a lot. The way that they're playing this so aggressive right now. Like, again, you can't just let Monkey Business hold on to this gold advantage that they have. Like, this game could go to 50, 60 minutes, and NiP may find a way to actually win it. It's not guaranteed that Monkey Business have that much of a better late game. I think they have an advantage, but NiP can still go there and see what happens. But it's more about, like, you have a certain amount of power right now, and you need to try and take control of the game.
Yeah, it looks like Necro is gearing up for an Octarine core of his own. He's got a point booster, still pretty far away from it, but
yeah, it's got to be right.
Can't imagine it's
Could be
anything else.
Bloodstone, but I don't think he needs it this game. I would really like Octarine. I think that's a good idea.
Octarine's
Gets extra
insanely
heal
strong. Yeah.
every time he death pulses on heroes.
Yeah,
Goes
lowers the
down.
cooldown on the Reaper's Scythe even more,
Oh.
the Scythe of Ice. It's really good.
What if he
here.
ults somebody and does like their full HP? He'd basically heal himself for like 25% of that.
Yeah.
And then you get the regen kicking in from Sadist.
And a lower cooldown.
Yeah.
So then you can just like Reaper Scythe 2 people constantly.
Pretty ridiculous.
I mean, once we see like Refresher, like Octarine Core, then Refresher on Necrophos, that's when things
Yeah.
get really like just insanely dumb. Because then you can afford to blow like a Necrophos, 2 Necrophoses on one hero to ensure a kill, and then still have room for an extra one.
He catches arrow
They're
with
so
a
far.
hex.
There's no way.
Force staff, yeah, that'll keep him fine. Okay.
I mean, I feel this is the best abuse that you can have of Alchemist. I feel like Monkey actually figured it out. The combo is Necrophos.
Yeah.
Because it just makes the hero so strong. It gives him an extra item slot, which is actually really valuable to him. Because he needs mobility, which is like a blink or a force. He needs Ags. He needs a Hex. Then he's going to need like a Shiva's and an Octarine. And all of a sudden we're at 6 items. And that one less item actually makes a really big deal. Plus, the hero is so good in the late game that it helps offset the fact that Alchemist really peaks off. Especially with this build he did. He is not going to be strong in the late game when he's got Octarine and a Radiance and a Manta. It's all right, but it's not a carry.
Oh, Handskin. He charged to the lane, so minimal chance of getting out here unless this TP goes off. Nope, Miracle. Blinks in, and they're even going to execute him. That's 75 seconds on the sideline. Nicely done by Monkey Business.
They know how badly they need to actually split push out so they can force Monkey Business to split apart so they can get those ganks that we've been seeing earlier. So Hunskin makes that kind of maneuver, just, hoping to be able to, it's something you kind of have to do. You have to make certain risks when you're far behind like this.
Yeah.
So
the other thing about the Alchemist Necro combo is that Necro really benefits from the Ags. You don't necessarily have to give it to him right away. You're not on this time clock where it's like a Witch Doctor or something. You think, okay, now we're hitting our power curve in the mid game. You can stall out and give it to him 45 minutes and open up flexibility for the Alchemist that way. It's kind of a unique scenario.
it's always going to be one of the biggest advantages of Monkey Business. The fact that they're able to quickly do Roshan.
Yeah, Solar Crest once more, and
This strategy is so much stronger on our side.
Yeah, really is. They get a ward, pretty easy. Next Axe is surely going to go to Witch Doctor. The one after that, probably Undying, if he farms it.
Yeah.
It'll be pretty useful. You can reduce
Oh,
somebody's
yeah.
HP by 190 for 40 seconds. It's
Yeah,
not
that's. I think it's insanely strong. Just because the Undying also then keeps himself going forward. If you actually get both the Ags and the Octarine Core, Undying just becomes this impossible beast to take down. And
That
he's
actually sounds really good.
Yeah, he's
Wait a
having that
second.
kind of permanent effect on you. So especially when I've seen Undyings, I've even played it where you're just sieging down and you just get 1 decay on somebody, 1 decay on somebody, 1 decay on somebody. I mean, how do you actually go into that fight with confidence when somebody is missing 30 strength?
Yeah, that's like having a heart.
Yeah, and now Big Daddy will just move into further survivability. He's got the Reaver picked up, probably going to be that heart that you were talking about earlier, Purge. And now he's just going to become a beefcake that'll be hard to bring down in these fights. Stand in the front lines while his Witch Doctor and Necro do the damage from the back lines.
Yeah, it was the way that Team Secret ran it with the safe lane Eternal Envy Alchemist. Tank, Ags, and I think Big Daddy's going the right route. You don't want to stall up your own farm too much when giving away these Aghanim Scepters, so it's always important to get a big item after you give away an Aghanim Scepter.
Smoke rotation goes in onto Era. They'll catch him with the
he's so
Hex
dead.
right away. Walrus
never
punch.
mind.
There's the Scythe, and okay, he stays alive. Compliments to the Dazzle.
Is this
Shallow
working?
Grave.
That was so beautiful.
My God, Seal Kid.
They
What a
planned that
player.
out beautifully. I mean, they just baited out so many big times, and they really had it positioning. So Dazzle knew the Animage would always be in range for him to be able to get that Shallow Grave. That was a beautiful bait out from NiP, and they just bought themselves something right in the next 30 seconds. Maybe they can have the confidence to force a fight, or maybe they just have found more room for them to be able to split push or something. But It's small maneuvers like that which buys NiP openings.
Oh, Big Daddy, he gets vacuumed up to the high ground here by Jonas. Limps on his way in, does put out the dagger, but Manta will take it off straight away, and Big Daddy will be able to walk back.
About a blade mail.
Interesting.
It's...
Oh.
Well,
Are they going to continue this fight here? He goes in onto Jonas, and Big Daddy's just going to lay into him with the Chemical Rage on. Flies rotating down, as with the rest of Monkey Business, and nowhere for the Dark Seer to go.
he's so fast, 500 movement speed when he pops his ult. So the blade mail basically lets you leverage your HP for damage, but in practice, I feel like it's very hard to do this most of the time. I'm not sure if I like the item pickup, because it's... I mean, he can always change it up later, because he's going to have so much money. He'll be 6 slotted in like less than 10 minutes, but
yeah,
I'm not sure if I like this.
Well, now the Octarine's out on Necro, so that takes his ult to a 52-second cooldown.
I think I'm okay with it, just because once he finishes up the heart, like, I think you're still good to go to be like very prevalent in fights, and you know a lot of these heroes want to have BKB. Like the Animage isn't going to have BKB, so the value of the pure damage return, like he can't really be a target for the Animage.
Where is NiP right now? Their base is under siege on a multiple front. Bottom tier 3 under heavy assault. The mid tier 3 has already gone down. They're just going to try to split push this. Limp and as well as Era are up at the tier 3 in the top lane, but they stand to lose 2 lanes of barracks here if they're not careful. Darkseer doesn't have a buyback.
He's backdooring too. It's not working. Oh, okay, creeps finally came.
But now the glyph is used by the Dire side. Mid lane Big Daddy almost finishes off the barracks by himself. The rest of his team still committed to that bottom lane. NiP low on options here. The Alchemist will be the one to TP back and deal with the push. Monkey Business actually don't get as much as I thought. Only the melee barracks down bottom, but now the fight breaks out. Walrus punch straight away onto Handskin. Era blinks in. Limp's the one that takes the Hex. Miracle, he's getting bashed. He gets finished off, but remember, he's got the Aegis. He's coming back to life. Now the Sonic Wave will finish off the Tusk, and Fly just barely stays alive. Will turn. Soul Rip will bring him back up. Handskin getting low. The zombies might be able to chase him down and finish him off, but nope, not quite. Monkey Business still with a few left alive, and Jonas will be executed. Now the Darkseer out of the game for nearly 100 seconds. Sloppy for Monkey Business, but they will come out okay. On the backside, it's Big Daddy squaring off against Era. The old teammates here, giving it the old 1-2 as Era has to blink back to safety. Ooh. Does finish off the creep that he's trying to BOT to.
Also killing the creeps.
Now, back in the base, Miracle takes the Orchid. He's got to back up to reset things. The wall of replica is still down as the Coconut bounces from hero to hero. Low mana here on the side of Monkey Business, but Big Papa Alchemist back in the fray. Bottom lane of barracks have already gone down mid. Melee barracks about to die to the hero siege creep.
I would deny that, honestly.
Yep, yeah, he does. Very nice. But that's still 2 lanes of barracks down for only a tier 3 tower. Now Limp manages to blink back. Is this the end for Monkey Business? This feels, or pardon me, for NiP, this feels like a GG push here.
They knew it too. That's why they did that whole weird split push.
Yeah. There we go, the final fight perhaps. Fly's the one that takes the Orchid, but we'll be able to mech. Now Limp, shallow grave from Steelcade will keep him from getting decapitated. But Era trying to do what little damage he can. Now the Death Ward is out, it's bouncing around doing huge damage. Spirit Breaker falls first. Era barely able to blink back, but the Death Pulse will chase it down. Nice Manta Split almost saves him, but it's just not enough in the end. Now he'll be the one to buy back. It's still the Darkseer, the only one that's out of the game for another 15 seconds. Limp goes out of the base aggressively, pops the BKB, but takes a Walrus Punch. Beautiful ice shards lock him in place. Limp has no choice but to continue to fight. He'll get the shallow grave. So go in even further. Alright, Manifold will finish off the Necrophos. This isn't a bad fight for NiP, but in the end, they just don't have the resources. Crit sustaining his team with the Voodoo Restoration, and Limp will be forced into a buyback here. It looks like Monkey Business have had enough for now. Well, not before the Anti-Mage goes down. Blade Mail still popped by Big Daddy. This is one hell of a long team fight, and Monkey Business are still going for it. Jonas gets off the Lotus Orb, and it'll return an unstable concoction to Big Daddy, but there's just not enough follow-up damage to bring him down. On the backside, Queen of Pain does bring down the Undying as well as the Witch Doctor. Now it's Big Daddy that's left alone, gets the Blade Mail off again. He's regenning quickly, but not fast enough. Now buybacks coming from the Dire side. Even Alchemist buying back. Moon Meander, he's in a little bit too deep. He falls, but this Radiant team is running out of resources. Only 2 heroes left alive. Reaper's Sight, they'll finish off the Quap, and it's just Jonas Simfon left alive, and now he's down. GG well played is called, and it's Monkey Business to take the win at the 37-minute mark. My gosh.
Yeah, if you think about it, I know a lot of people would be like, you know, what the hell was NiP doing there? Why didn't they actually turn and you know, actually defend their base when they're getting like 2 different lanes pushed in? But if you think about it, you think about the large disadvantage that they were at, and you think about the traditional ways that teams would fight up against that kind of advantage, it would be through buybacks, right? Like that would be the obvious, like, okay, yes, they're pushing in, but they can't afford to utilize their buybacks because they're so far away from their base. So we have these extra lives to bring to the table. Well, you can't do that against a Necrophos. So they had to force a fight that was a little bit more awkward for Monkey Business. So making the Alchemist TP back was their best opening, right?
It worked really well.
Yeah, as soon as he was gone, they actually could force a fight, but it was still like they were still at such a disadvantage that they couldn't fully win the fight and actually turn things around.
Yeah, it was unfortunate the Darkseer died like right before that happened because he was dead for that whole skirmish essentially. He came up once the buyback started coming out, but it was kind of a 4-on-5, so considering that was the case, it was a pretty scrappy little defense.
I think the biggest problem was just Anti-Mage either needed to do better in the early game or they needed a carry that could gank more often. He was just a passive farmer. All they could do to turn things around was protect him that one time. Yeah, it worked really well, but you need to have more aggression than that because the synergy there with Monkey's draft was perfect. It really let them abuse the Alchemist.
Yeah, I love that final team fight as well. There were 7 buybacks used across both teams, so it was really quite the all-in fight for sure. But we're going to have a break, folks, and coming back, our analysts are going to break down Game 1 now that Monkey Business has taken a victory.